Well, good evening and welcome back to Irons United for our Carabao Cup preview. We take on Everton at Goodison Park again in front of no fans. And, Everton and both West Ham will be looking to build on the weekend's victories in the Premier League when the two sides lock horns, like I said, in the fourth round clash. Everton overcame Salford City and Fleetwood Town to advance into the last 16, whereas West Ham have knocked out Charlton Athletic and Hull City to set up the showdown with Everton. I am, of course, Anton. I'm joined by Matt and Richard. Matt, how are you feeling about tomorrow's night's game?
It's going to worry me. It depends on the teams because I've got a feeling that Everton will probably put out a strong team. And the way we've played, we might not put out as strong as teams we could. But I think at this point, your last 16 already, we should be trying to go for it, really.
Yeah. And Richard, listen, mate, Everton have won both of their previous League Cup ties, with West Ham winning in the fourth round after replaying 83-84 and quarter-final tie in the 2007 and 8 season. West Ham have won 2 of their last 5 meetings with Everton in all competitions, drawing 1, losing 2, and as many as we had in our previous 25 games against Everton. We've just kept 1 clean sheet in our last 24 League Cup meetings with Premier League opponents, with that coming in a 4-0 quarter-final win against Manchester United in the 2010-11 season. For some of those stats, how are you feeling about tomorrow?
Look, I think I'm pretty confident after the result that we had the other night. I think we put in a really, really good performance. But, Everton also full of confidence as well. They've been a breath of fresh air this season. Ancelotti seems to really know exactly what his identity is with the side, and he's brought in some really good signings. But again, it's exactly what Matt said. It's going to be interesting to see what sides both managers put out, because I think we might see some of the big names from both sides starting in this game, especially considering Everton and West Ham's lack of runs to finals in recent years. So I think both managers will be hungry to try and get to Wembley.
Well, absolutely. Well, listen, without further ado, we may as well bring in our Everton guest. It's going to be Paul from Falcon Blues TV. Paul, how are you?
Very well. Thanks for having us back on again.
Yeah, no worries, mate. So Paul's been on a few seasons ago, and we worked out exactly when it was. It was actually when West Ham beat Everton 3-1, wasn't it? Thanks to Arnautovic and Yarmolenko.
Yeah, 2 goals from Yarmolenko, who I remember mentioning on the video that Everton were linked with him.
Yeah.
So obviously he's going to score, isn't he? So, it's one of them.
It's one of them. So, of course, for anyone that's watching, if you want to go and check out Falcon Blues TV, then go across there, subscribe, etc. So, again, Paul, thank you very much. But listen, mate, it's the Carabao Cup. It's, when you look at the last couple of games, you've knocked out Fleetwood and Salford City. What's your kind of hopes and aspirations with the Carabao Cup?
I go along with a lot of Evertonians who, in all honesty, we haven't won a trophy since '95. So we look at the League Cup like it's the World Cup, you know what I mean? It'd mean the world to Evertonians and probably a lot of other clubs, probably similar feelings to yourself. So I'm hoping that Everton come with a really strong team, because the way I look at it is your League Cup should be, for like of Everton and West Ham, your best chance of winning a trophy. Obviously the FA Cup as well, but you're more likely to see some of the topper sides play, some of the younger players and let players rest for Europe and the league and whatnot. But yeah, I'm open for a strong side.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Listen, you've been busy in the summer months. There's a lot of West Ham fans. Richard, Matt will all agree that there's a form of jealousy. In particular, it's not just about signing players, but it's the quality of players that Everton have brought in. Richard, what's your thoughts on some of the players that have come in?
Oh, incredible transfer policy at Everton. I could only dream of the players they brought through the door. You look at the fact that they've got James in, which I think was a really, really great deal, and he's been a breath of fresh air in that side. He's the man that's so creative in midfield. He just makes it work, and he's taken to the Premier League so well. He's already banging in unbelievable performances. And for me, it's also shrewd business bringing in the likes of Decore and Alan that are also solid in the middle of midfield. So Ancelotti's obviously pinpointed players that he's wanted to bring in, and the board have backed him. And the results are showing. Top of the Premier League, 3 wins in a row. I can only dream of having that type of recruitment at West Ham, but we've only got one scout, so what can you expect?
So, Paul, I mean, it's literally 5 out of 5 in all competitions this season for Everton. And when you look at the side that you've put out in the Cup and the League, I mean, it's the Cup side's a really strong side. Is that what you kind of expect again tomorrow?
Maybe slightly stronger tomorrow. We've got to respect the opposition. I think it'll be a stronger side than that played against Fleetwood. I know Carlo's taking it. He's taking this quite big because, that side was quite strong, and we've been doing well in the league. And it's been great to watch us this season. It really has. We're playing well. You mentioned James. His pass rate's unbelievable. Like against Spurs, it was 100%. But it's amazing what 3 players can do. With the confidence of Everton. Now we look like we're going into games, and we're looking very confident, and we're controlling games as well, like the Spurs game. And Decore and Allen have really added a lot of steel into the midfield. Every Evertonian last season was saying we needed new centre mids. We were getting bypassed. They just look slow and sluggish. And I can certainly sympathise with what he's going through. Many transfer windows I've seen Everton leave it till late and leave it till the last day to get players in. And I know it's been frustrating for yourselves to see what's going on with Tarkowski at Burnley. But back Moyes, I'm a big fan of Moyes. When I grew up going to the matches, so from when I was 14 was when Everton got David Moyes, and he really brought an identity to Everton when we were just fighting relegation every season. And he turned it around once he was given time, and he done really well at Everton with a very limited budget as well. Back in the day, we were always skint. We were always selling our best players to the bigger clubs, and he really did bring an identity. So hopefully he gets the backing of the board, and hopefully he gets a few players in.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Matt, I mean, Paul's just been talking about players like Decore, strong centre midfielder that, I know West Ham have got our own, and we'll talk about West Ham in a minute. But it's not just this season's recruitment. It's also a few seasons ago, I think Everton were completely slagged off for the signing of Richarlison. But he's kind of proven exactly what the reason and potentially the money they spent. What's your thoughts on Richarlison, Matt?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, if you tried to sell him now, Everton probably reject double what they paid for him. He's really evolved. He went into Watford as an unknown from Brazil. I think they bought him straight from Brazil, Watford, and everyone was like, oh, not sure about this. I think even I said at the time when Everton paid that money, like, why have they paid so much money for him? He had one season in the Premier League, but he can play anywhere across the front three. And unlike a lot of guys that can play across the front three, he does score goals. Some guys, will see you play across the front three and, a bit like Antonio. If he's a 1-on-1, you don't know for sure Antonio's going to score. Whereas Richarlison coming in off the wing, if he gets a chance, he'll score. Like, end of story. He's a fantastic technical player. He's all round. He seems to get stuck in. He's finishing. He's running. He's a fantastic signing, and he's like, I think he's maybe going a bit under the radar this season because of Calvert-Lewin, because Calvert-Lewin's come out of nowhere to start scoring a lot of goals. But he does seem to be integral to that team, Richarlison, and it's a fantastic bit of business. Yeah. Sometimes you have to speculate to accumulate, and they spent big and said, no, he's going to be worth it, and now he's worth at least double what they paid for him, which is big money at the time.
100%. Paul, we're talking about all the players you've brought in, and you're looking at squad depth, and I'm bringing up here now the Premier League side that you put out in your last game. But I think, am I correct in saying is Mina injured? I mean, I don't think he features in the cup. Is that right? When you look at the two sides, and there's strong chat that maybe Walcott might start for the game tomorrow night. Listen, West Ham fans know all about Walcott. He's actually scored 6 goals. He's got 5 assists against West Ham, which isn't a great thing. What's your thoughts on the strength and depth in Everton?
I didn't know that was his record, to be honest, but I suppose he should be in with a shout. I'm sure he's mentioned that to Carlo himself, if that's the case. But Mina played on the weekend in the League Cup. Luca Dean played centre back because at the moment Mason Holgate's out injured, which is unfortunate because he got injured during the last pre-season, and he had a really good season last year, and he's probably become a number 1 centre back choice. Him and Michael Keane have improved very well. So I would expect Mina to play if all else fails. I think Everton are in the market looking for another centre half, but Theo gets the game, fair play. I hope we keep Decore and Allen playing centre mid. I could see Sigurdsson playing instead of Gomez. Sigurdsson's played every League Cup game so far, and he's missed out on the starting lineup for the Premier League games. Didn't have his best season, guilty, last year, but we know the quality he's got, especially on set pieces and things like that. But just going back to the charts, when you mentioned about we took a bit of stick over signing him, I think it was Paul Mason, I remember in particular, who said Everton ruined the transfer window that summer. And Bailey looks a bit soft now, doesn't he, saying comments like that,
Yeah. 100%, mate. Listen, you've got other players in your ranks, players that West Ham were linked to at the time. Bernard, and the other Brazilian. I mean, how is he performing? I mean, I know he performed in the last couple of cup games.
Yeah, kind of but in different form. A lot of Everton fans have got mixed feelings on him because he can have a really good game one week, let's say against Burnley, and then the next week he could be playing Wolves and he just won't have a good game. A lot of people, we don't know his best position. I don't know if he is a winger. I think when he plays us a number 10, he's really well. And it's very similar to Alex Iwobi as well. I don't think Alex Iwobi's a winger either. When he plays central, he seems to get more of the game and more of the ball. Bernard is a very skillful player. He can cross a ball in as well. So, that's one thing over playing on the wings. But it's his strength that lets him down sometimes because he's only a short lad and he can get out muscled very easily. But Bernard will be another player who will be in contention to start tomorrow. Same with Iwobi. But as I say, I hope Everton sticks to the main part to make it a strong side. We have got Brighton on the weekend, which is, there's no easy games in the Premier League, but this is a really important game for Everton and West Ham. If you win this game, you're into the quarterfinals. That's a big thing.
It's absolutely huge, mate. And I mean, like you said at the start, you're desperate for trophies, as are West Ham. I mean, we're sitting waiting since 1980, not including the Championship playoffs or the Intertoto Cup. So, I mean, we're desperate. We're absolutely desperate. And what are the chances, mate? It could happen this season that the fans don't go into the stadiums. It's just very typical story of West Ham, and probably the same for you, Paul. Very typical Everton. The player really on the tip of a lot of players' tongues is the young English centre forward Calvert-Lewin. Banged in 5 goals in the Premier League so far this season. He's played some of the League Cup, hasn't he? Do you think he'll be in for a shout for tomorrow night?
I think so. He played the last round, and he's a player in form. Why would you drop him? Last season was a big season for him. He finished on 15 goals for the season. So he was joint top scorer with Richarlison, who got 15 as well. And it's been a bit of a long time coming for him because we had 2 seasons where it was Ronald Koeman who first gave him a start, and he was playing him out on the wing. And some fans weren't sold on him. He's got a lot of work ethic and stuff like that, but he's added goals to his game now, and which is great because he's got a lot of attributes that you'd like. He's fast. He's good in the air as well. Pep Guardiola said he was the best young header of a ball he's seen. But now he's added these goals. I'm sure, Gareth Southgate should be watching. If I was Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I'd be expecting a call up for the next England squad. But Carlo's given him a goal of saying he wants to see him try and get 20 goals a season, and the same with Richarlison. He's on 5 already, and he's played well. You know what I mean? He's not the player. He doesn't hide. He gets stuck in. He gets about. And it's nice to see young players like this at Everton signed for $1.5 million as well. So there is still bargains out there from the lower leagues.
Yeah, you certainly know Jordan Hugo anyway. It's such an interesting time. Obviously, there's no fans in the stadium. I mean, how do you think Everton are? How genuinely, and for 2 reasons, I'll ask you as a fan of Everton looking in on West Ham, and a fan of Everton being, with Ancelotti's head. How do you think that Ancelotti will set up against West Ham, and how do Everton fans see the game tomorrow night against West Ham?
Everton fans see this as a very big game. I know a lot of my mates who have said, they They want us to see us go out all out in the cups. That's both FA Cup and League Cup. And considering we're doing well in the league, I've heard people saying they wouldn't mind us finishing 12th or 13th as long as we have a good go in the cups and have a good go at them. But I can see Carlo. He seems to set up differently against different teams, and that's a difficult question to answer about how he's going to set up. I'd imagine that he'll want to press, but also be cautious that West Ham are, you know what I mean. Look at West Ham on the weekend; they beat Wolves 4-0. There's not many teams that are going to beat Wolves 4-0 this season. I know it's been a bit of indifferent form this season so far, and obviously it's a bit of a difficult situation. Is Moyes still resting at home with? Is he still resting at home, recovering from COVID?
Yeah. So Moyes won't be at the game. Diop also won't be at the game, and Cullen won't be at the game. I think Moyes has been retested from what I've heard, guys, and I think he's still failed the test, because I think the Premier League must get access to extra tests, and they've got to submit 2 negative tests, I believe.
I see. Yeah.
But there's a kind of ongoing joke by saying, well, obviously you don't want anyone to have COVID, but it's better for Moyes to stay at home and work from home, because West Ham seem to turn up on the day. I mean, Ancelotti, do you think he knows a lot about the League Cup, or am I doing him a discredit for it because you've been putting out a stronger side in it?
I'd imagine he's done his own work, and his record in all the leagues for taking cup games seriously seems to be quite good omen. One of the big things you'll know about Everton as well is that Everton haven't won a trophy since '95. I'm sure that's been instilled in him, and I'm sure all the coaching staff and everyone at the club, that goes all the way up to Bill Kenwright, so the captain like Seamus Coleman will instill to him how important it is for Everton to try and get their hands on a trophy. Whether David Moyes not being there tomorrow, whether that'll be an impact, a good or positive one for Everton, I don't know, but certainly do wish him a speedy recovery. As I say, I have great memories under David Moyes. Really gave me something to be proud about being an Evertonian about that team, because I've grown up, I always remember Everton fighting relegation, and he really turned the tide. So I've got a lot of respect for Moyes and a lot of time for him.
I like that. That's really cool to hear as well, mate. Before we ask you for your predictions, who should West Ham fear tomorrow night?
Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. They're on good form. But now that you've showed me Theo's record, I'd say watch out for the Walcott as well. I'd say Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are the ones to watch. If Rodriguez is playing as well, it's a tough one, really. If I'm looking at it from an outsider point of view, like if Everton were coming to play me, then the way we've started the season, we've done well. But it'd be those two, Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. And
you've got West Ham, who are supposedly playing our second string starting 11, which is actually over £100 million, maybe borderline £150 million value of our second string starting 11. Who do you fear the most in our potential side for tomorrow night?
Good question. Yarmolenko, if he's playing.
Yeah.
Just because I always rated him when he was getting linked with Everton. Because I remember playing against, I think it was Steaua Bucharest when he was playing for them. And he just scored a worldie from out of nowhere. And I remember him coming to Goodison and doing well. I remember him last season scoring the winner against Chelsea as well. He's a player who can score from anywhere. I remember playing West Ham at Upton Park in the FA Cup. And it went to extra time. I think Lukaku scored for Everton, and he had a good record against West Ham.
He had a very good record against West Ham.
Yeah. But what I remember about that game is it went to a penalty shootout, and Adrian scored the winner.
He certainly did, mate. Yeah.
He took his gloves off before he took the pen, which he's got some bottle, that kid, and it was a good pen, to be fair, as well. It went down to the goalies doing it.
It was.
So I remember that may have been our last cup tie we played against West Ham.
Well, in actual fact, I'm bringing up the kind of recent decade of fixtures that West Ham and Everton have played. So you can actually see, when you look back, you'll see it was back in 2015 when we drew 2 each and we won that game. But the last couple of games, we've drew 1 each, lost the 2 games previous to that. Then we had a good run of victories. I think it was a mixture of Yarmolenko and Arnautovic that kind of got us through those 2 victories in 2018. The best memory for me in the most recent years would have been the Payet last season at Upton Park, where, yous were, I think it was the last couple of minutes that Payet just came up with this magic and scored in the last couple of minutes. West Ham were not used to winning away, especially at Everton. So, yeah, really, really interesting. But what's your predictions, Paul, for tomorrow night?
Do you know what? I normally sit on the fence with predictions. I really do. I'm always like, I think I'll go for a draw. But just the way we've started the season, the current form, I'm going to go for an Everton win tomorrow. I'm going to go for a KG 2-1 win, hopefully. But I do wish West Ham all the best for this season after tomorrow.
But listen, mate, we can respect that.
Cheers, mate.
We can totally respect that. The thing I'll say to you is West Ham can definitely concede goals, but currently we can score goals. So, when we come to our predictions at the end of the show, I can just see this being another high-scoring game. And the guys will back this up. When we do our predictions, we've gone from maybe 2 years ago going 1-0, 2-1, 2-1 to like 3-2, 4-3. Like, that's our predictions, because 9 times out of 10, there's going to be goals in the game. And we were baffled, weren't we, guys, when we beat Wolves 4-0. I seen a tweet from Andy Murray's brother, Jamie Murray, randomly put it up, said, here's a hint for the world. Do not ever bet on West Ham to win, draw or lose. They're the most inconsistent team to bet on, and it's a fact. We have no idea what West Ham's going to turn up tomorrow night. So that's the thing. Listen, Paul, mate, thank you so much for coming on. Anyone who's watching, make sure you go and check out Falcon Blues TV. Great content, and yeah, really nice guys. And like I said, all the best, mate. It's nice to see a different side up there doing something, albeit I know it's at the start of the season. Let's hope we've got a bit of consistency, but let's hope it doesn't start tomorrow night. Let's hope we break that chain tomorrow night.
I'm glad there's been no mention of that other side from Merseyside, so that's a real plus. Hopefully,
Richard and Matt, have you got any questions for Paul before he heads?
I'll ask one quickly. Paul, where do you honestly expect Everton to finish this season in the Premier League? What are your aspirations?
That's a really good question. Probably before the season, I would have said top 10 would have been. I would have been really happy with. For me, it'd be great to see us get in the top 6. I know people will always say the top 4 you want Champions League. Me, I want the Europa League. People criticise it all the time, but I like going to Lyon away for the match. You know what I mean? I like going. I want to do the European away day. The fun. Regardless of the result, you'll have a laugh with the boys, don't you? But I'd like to see us get back in Europe again, and hopefully we'll all be able to go to the game again. Because I've just thought about it. Then we'll have a European away day. We can't go. And it might be Everton West Ham's luck this season. When Wembley's at stakes to get to a final and no one can go. But if you'd ask me, would you take it? Everton going to Wembley, and even though you couldn't go, no one can go. Yeah, I would take it. I'm not gonna, but I'd hope for. Optimistically, I'd hope for the top 6.
Yeah, good shout, mate. Listen, Paul, thank you very much for coming on, mate. And hopefully, when we meet each other in the league, we can have a chat and get each other back on again and have a chat about the league competition. But I was going to say all the best for tomorrow night, but maybe not. Cheers, mate. Take it easy.
Take care.
Mate.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate.
Richard, Matt, it's interesting again. We're getting an opposition point of view on West Ham, and we never went in depth there about the hierarchy, but you could hint at a lot of the stuff that was going on. But of course, it's time to talk about West Ham. What's your thoughts on Everton, though, Rich?
Yeah, they're playing really, really good football. I think they've exceeded expectations this season. It's gone really, really well. Whether they'll be able to keep that momentum going is a question in itself. But I think, it's going to be a really, really tough game for us. But at the same time, I'm feeling quietly confident. I think it's a good time to be playing Everton. After beating Wolves 4-0, the lads will be full of confidence. We've been playing really well in the Cup. So it could be a good time to play them. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. West Ham are also playing tonight in is it the league? I can't remember the name of this trophy, actually. It's just, my mind's gone totally blank.
Trade?
Yeah, trick or trade trophy, and a lot of the youngsters are in the squad, but we don't see anything like Alessi, we don't see Ashby, etc. So there's a full expectation that potentially we may see something similar to this lineup that we had, which was Randolph, Balbuena, Alessi, Johnson, Wilshere, Snodgrass, Yarmolenko, Lanzini, Anderson, and Haller. What's your thoughts? Do you see the same team getting put out again, or do you see any potential changes, Matt?
Oh, it's a weird one because, like I said, the guy just had on said Everton want this year, and he reckons they're going to put a strong team out. And if we don't put a strong team out, and they do, with that midfield that they've now brought in, they'd probably overrun it. I don't think you can afford to play that midfield. I think the defence, maybe even the goalkeeper in the front, but I think for me, there's a lot of games coming thick and fast, but I don't think that midfield two will be strong enough against Everton's.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, listen, what do you think of the young talent we've got coming? The young talents we've got coming through the ranks, Rich. When you look at players like Ashby and Alessi.
Yeah, it's great to see. It's fantastic that the youth are getting a run out, even though it's in the cup. It's always a good start, and Ashby looks to be really, really confident on the right. Alessi had a really good game. Longelo came on for a little bit as well. So it's fantastic to see our youngsters coming on and making an impact in the cup. Can only help them for their development. And it'll be really interesting to see whether we give one or two youngsters a start against Everton, or whether we just go full experience, chuck Declan Rice back in there, potentially chuck Souček back in there, put out Bonner centre back. It'll be interesting to see. But I hope that one or two of the lads get a start against Everton in the cup. Will be great to see.
Absolutely, mate. Listen, we've got midfield players. You saw against Charlton, Masuaku played the game. He was then called into the Premier League side, and now he's never played the last game there. So players have been having an impact and starting to make an impact. Haller came on against Wolves, scored a goal in the last minute, played 3 minutes and scored a goal. But let's have a look at his recent stats in the Carabao Cup. Or I should say his recent stats in general. So he's got five goals in 3 competitive games, of which one of those games he came on as a substitution. So how important is, the Haller effect, I suppose you could say, Matt?
Well, I think anyone knows it doesn't matter how good a centre forward is and what league he's playing in. Centre forwards need to score goals. They need that confidence. And, he is scoring goals at the moment. And it's, he got 3 minutes the other night and he scored again. And, that's the sort of thing that's going to get into Moyes and Irving and Pearce that, like, hey, I'm scoring goals. Give me a chance.
Yeah.
And the only thing we've got at the moment is that we are playing 2 games a week where we're playing a league game and then the cup game. So he's still getting game time. It's not like he's sitting on the bench all the time not playing. So him going, he'll fancy himself tomorrow, 5 goals in 3 games. He's going to go in that game tomorrow thinking he's going to score, which is what you need from your centre forwards, because there's far too many times we have a centre forward who's absolutely awful. I think I saw a stat the other day that Bowen's already scored more goals than 70% of the strikers we've bought in the last decade, and he's only scored 4 goals. It's mental. But for Haller, I think we saw that team. As Rich said, I think if you swapped out the midfield 2 and possibly Bonner, I could see that team playing, because the front 4 you've got no problems with. That front 4 will stand up against anyone probably outside the top 6. Any team outside the top 6 would love to have that front 4. Yarmolenko, Anderson, Lanzini, and Haller. So I can see that team starting. And Haller needs the service, and he'll get that from them players.
Yeah, you're talking there about Yarmolenko, Lanzini, and Anderson. A lot of questions whether or not they should start making the grade up to the Premier League. But let me put this video up there. Reckon it's a no-brainer that the 3 of them are going to start for the game tomorrow night?
I think it is. I think we said about before the game last week, in the whole preview, we basically said, at the moment we've got 2 11s. We've got the Cup 11 and the League 11. And obviously, I think that front 4 is nailed on at the moment. I think they all playing their way in. And you could have argued that either Yarmolenko, Anderson or Haller could have started against Wolves the other day. But Moyes has said, no, we're playing these 2 teams. But they're the same way you'd expect them all to start tomorrow, because it's the cup team.
Yeah. Absolutely, Richard. I'm gonna put a video up just to show you the amount of choice that Moyes has to make. Albeit Moyes will be at home, managing the team from the telly. So this is the. I mean, there's 9 quality. There really is strength and depth in our midfield. Do you see any changes at all for tomorrow night?
Well, first of all, there is great depth there, and it's fantastic to see because competition for places is what makes a team tick. As soon as you've got lads that are comfortable in the starting 11, that's when you start to snowball. As Matt said, I really do expect Yarmolenko, Lanzini, Anderson to keep their places. I could potentially see a change in the defensive midfield role. I do think either Rice or Souček has got to come in, especially if, as Matt said, they bring in Decore and Alan, because for me, those two would overrun Wilshere and Snodgrass in the middle of the park. So yeah, those are the changes that I would expect. But otherwise, that front four I think will be exactly the same, with like Bowen on the bench, and Antonio potentially on the bench to come off for the last 20 minutes if we need him. But yeah, they've kept their places from what I've seen in the cup. They deserve to keep their places.
But then there's a difference between players should be keeping their places and management and man management and coaching. When you come up against the side that you said the other day, Richard, when we were playing Wolves, that when you look at the midfield duo of Wolves versus West Ham, you were really confident that West Ham would win that battle in the middle of the park, and you completely hit the nail on the head with that game. West Ham completely dominated that game through the middle of the park. So when you look at tomorrow's game and you're coming up against a stronger opposition, do we need to put in a little bit more of protection there? Not that I'm dissing anything that Snodgrass does because he's a hard worker, but maybe Wilshere. I know Wilshere had a good game, the last game he played, but does he really have a future at West Ham? That's another question. So do you see us making a change, that you do see us putting Souček or Rice in there?
I think so. One of them has to go in there for me. Both of them are playing really, really well. They are battering rams in midfield, and I just think they'd offer that protection that our potentially fragile back four, who've only played together a couple times in the League Cup, they're going to come up against different quality. They've only ever been exposed to Charlton and Hull City. With all due respect to them, now you're up against Calvert-Lewin, who's banging in goals against the best in the Premier League. You're gonna have to need that type of protection in midfield from either Rice or Souček, definitely for me.
Let's not forget, though, that Mark Noble is back from his toe injury.
I was literally about to say that.
No!
What do you think?
I was literally about to say I could see him dropping Wilshere and bringing Noble in. Yeah. Because Noble needs minutes as well. In fairness, I don't think Noble's going to walk back into that starting lineup anytime soon for the Premier League. I think if we stay in with this formation, you're playing with midfield two. Like Rich said, that midfield two of Rice and Souček will run over most midfields. They may not be creative and pass it around you, but when you got like Wolves had, where not the most mobile, we can do it. But tomorrow, you can't play Snodgrass and Wilshere because they will just get mowed down, out muscled, out fought. He said it's nothing against Snodgrass, but he's not a holding midfielder, and Wilshere is nowhere near. Snodgrass could do a job. Wilshere can't even do a job in holding midfield because he's not. He's an attacking midfielder. So I don't expect Wilshere to be in it, but Noble will be a shout. I don't think it'd be the right shout, but I could definitely see it happening.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure it wouldn't be the worst shout, to be honest. I do think that he is going to have he's got a job and he can still do a job for West Ham if he's used in the right manner. And like you said, Matt, he does need some game time because he's been out the last couple of games. And it's going to be, we're going to have to rely on Noble at some point in this season, hopefully no injuries will make us have to rely on him, but it'll be kind of shoring up a game at the end of the last 10, 15 minutes or West Ham are moving forward, because we know that he's capable of creating opportunities as well. And the longer he gets older, his legs go, he can play really, really good penetrating balls through the defences to create chances as well. So he's still definitely got a role, a massive role to play at the club. What do you think of that, Richard? Do you think we can see Noble coming in? Now he said that.
I could potentially see it. Definitely. My only worry is he just doesn't take us forward enough in his play, and he just slows us down completely. Even against Wolves when he came on, he did play one good ball over the top. I'll give him that. But you just felt the whole tempo of the side just went completely down when he came on. But I could see him playing a role in a game against Everton tomorrow where he's there to be the leader, to make sure the lads are up for it, to constantly be motivating. But, I really, really do not want to see him start another game in the Premier League for us as long as Rice and Souček are playing well. Because I just generally think that he'd be bringing us down. But he could have a role to play in the Cup. I'll give him that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Listen, for anyone that's watching, please make sure you keep, of course, you have to subscribe, hit the bell notification. That lets you know when we are putting shows out, etc. Leave a comment in the comments section. We'll try our best to get through some of the comments near the end of the show. And of course, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you get your starting 11 in. Who would you like to see play for West Ham tomorrow night? Do you recognise that video, Richard?
Yeah, I recognise it straight away. Bournemouth at home.
So,
what a day that was.
Without going out in depth there about the starting 11, I personally only see one change to that one. Are we all in agreement there? Or is anyone going to challenge that?
I was going to, but Longjello's playing today, so no. For me, I think Wilshere will get dropped, and I'll be about it.
Yeah. Richard?
Yeah, I think it'll be very similar. I could potentially see Ogbonna play, but I don't. Actually, no. I'll see. I think one change in midfield. That front four will stay the same, and that back four will stay the same.
So Mark Noble stepping in for him, or do you still think it will be Souček or Rice, Rich?
I honestly think it will be Noble. I'd love it to be Rice or Souček, but I just don't think it will happen.
Yeah, excellent. Listen, let's get on to the interesting time, which is our match predictions. Get your predictions in. It's a big game for West Ham. We can win this game tomorrow night. We can get through to a quarter final of a cup competition. So it's been a little while, but get your predictions I don't know. Every time I play that video, Rich and Matt, I just absolutely reminds me of how much I miss the game, miss going to the game so badly. It's starting to get harder and harder. But again, I know we have to protect everyone. Before we do our predictions, though, is there any other kind of points you want to cross over with regards to the game tomorrow night?
No, nothing really.
No.
Short and sweet.
I was like, no.
Right, Matt, predictions.
I'm going to go for a 3-2 win.
3-2 win away from home.
Yeah.
Last time we beat Everton away from home 3-2 was back in 15-16, like we said earlier on, thanks to Dimitri Payet. Like it though. Good. Positive thinking, mate. Like it. I'll take that. Rich?
I could see this being a draw, and then it goes to penalties straight away. Is that correct?
I think it must do now. I think that must is that also there's no extra time now?
I'm not too sure. Any of you know how
it goes straight to penalties?
Yeah, I could see this being a 2-2 draw and going to penalties.
Sure. Yeah,
and Darren Randolph taking off his gloves and just banging one top bins.
Love it, mate. Love it. Listen, I'm going to be positive today. I'm always positive, to be honest. I'm a half glass full sort of West Ham fan, and I'm going to go for here we go. It's going to be crazy. 4-3 West Ham win. I do think West Ham are capable of scoring 4 goals away from home. I really do. I also think we're capable of conceding 4 or 5 or 6, but I'm going to be positive and say it's going to be 4-3 because I just don't want to copy Matt. That's the score I would have liked to have taken, which was 3-2. Just refusing to copy you, mate. And I can see the draw happening as well, Richard, but I just want to add a little bit of something interesting. So fingers crossed West Ham can get through it. Before we go, let's get onto some of the comments and let's see what everyone is saying. So, Pete Chapman, how are you? Let's say hi. Richard, do you want to read them and I'll put them up for you?
Yeah, go for it. Juha, evening fellow hammers, evening mates. How you doing? Panzer63 says good evening. Good evening, mate. Hope you're doing well. Lukey Bailey, Tango Man, getting involved. I love to see it. Very nervous. Joan, evening happy hammers. Evening to you, Joan. Evening happy hammer. It's great to be in touch. Toby Sampson. Forever blowing bubbles. Good stuff. Hi all.
Yeah, so we've obviously addressed that. Mick, will Everton be putting out a strong side? We've had their away fan on, so he thinks they will. And even, if they have a mix of their Premier League and their Cup side, it's a strong, in-depth squad that Everton have got. And I think Ancelotti's definitely doing the job. I'll take this one on Toby Sampson. Surely we've got to stick with the Cup team. They've got us to this stage. And I think we will. Absolutely. And thank God, massive fitness, that they don't have Lukaku anymore.
Jeez, thank God.
Thank God, yeah.
Thank God, because you just knew he was going to score against us every time.
How many players do we have in our lifetime that we know that just love playing against West Ham? Callum Wilson, to name one.
Lukaku.
Michael Owen.
Yeah, but didn't he have a ridiculous record about, he literally scored 10 games in a row against us or something stupid? It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Joan, hope you're well. If we get through to the latter stages, we should keep the faith with our Cup 11. I completely agree with you. Pete Chapman, Paul, is the game on the Everton FC website, radio, media? I don't think the game's on the EFL website tomorrow. Go check the West Ham website because they've put a link out to how you can go and sign up and watch the game tomorrow night. And also, in the meantime, while we're at it, come on to our show tomorrow night. We're doing a match day live. If you're watching them, we're having just such good banter. Just come on, have a laugh, and watch the game. You'll see all our faces on it, albeit some of us longer, some of us shorter. It doesn't matter. Just come on and have a laugh. And even if you watch the game, sometimes we're a little bit delayed, but it's just good banter. Massive fitness. Calvert-Lewin is doing pretty good. When I think of him, he doesn't make me think outstanding player, but he is pretty underrated. I think he's a player that's got confidence and is getting service. Do we agree with that?
Yeah,
absolutely. He's not the flashiest player in the world, but he just gets the job done. He's that typical number 9.
Yeah,
and he's doing a good job for Everton. So
absolutely, Kieran Decor was a cracking signing. I completely agree. I really do think he was a good signing for them. Although, would you take Decor or Souček? I think I would take Souček all day long.
Yeah,
massive fitness, but who match with the quarterfinal? Much would the quarterfinal match cost something? And then everyone goes on to saying that if we get through, we can go in the underground. We can use our Oyster cards. It's quite funny. What's this here? Infinite life, even in everyone. This Everton fan is quite good and funny, but hopefully we can upset him a bit tomorrow. Fingers crossed, mate. We can. Loads of comments. Let's just say, here we go. Fresh fielder. Leicester agree for Fana deal. I think it was inevitable that they would. I think West Ham were linked to another couple of players over the last couple of days. Entered communications. And I think Valencia's gone and signed one of them today.
We linked with the right back. That played with Souček. Can't remember his name now.
Yeah,
I saw Sky today.
Kufal.
Yeah, I saw that now. Interesting to see what happens there.
Let's see if we can get some of the predictions up. Stephen Richardson 2-0 West Ham. Kieran saying 2-0 West Ham. Joan is saying 3-2 West Ham. Happy Hammer. I'll give this one to you, Matt. Would anyone be happy with no signings but a lot more youth players given game time?
It's an interesting one because this is basically what Wolves just done. And, after the game the other day, a lot of Wolves fans were sort of giving Nuno stick that they spent a lot of money this summer, but they brought in 3 kids. They've got no experience. They're like, we need players for now. And I'd argue the same thing, that while we do have the kids and it's going to be good to blood them and get them through, we also need a couple of players to come in for now. We need a backup centre forward. We probably need another centre mid, and we need defenders realistically.
Yeah.
And there is a big gap between playing Carabao Cup against League One teams and playing Premier League football week in, week out. Not to say they can't do it, because Johnson's shown that he can do it. He played both. He played left back and right back. His first 2 games were against Everton. But I don't think we need to spend crazy money. But we need to try and get in maybe a couple of players for the Championship. But we need players just with that little bit more experience for now that can last, and then give the young kids the time to bleed in and get going.
Yeah, absolutely. Fushizi's just named the player there, the right back you were talking about, Richard. Vladimir Kofal from Slavia Prague, right back. No worries. Thank you, Stephen, for tuning in. And fingers crossed we keep right. So skip through quite a lot of the comments. Who's the man you fear the most tomorrow night, Richard, for Everton?
Richarlison. I can just see him going down and winning a penalty. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, and then they score from it. So we just have to be careful about him because he's good, and he's one of those deceptive players that will throw a nice dive in the box. and probably Connor referee as well. So we just need to watch out for him and Calvert-Lewin if he starts, which he should.
Matt, who's the man you fear the most?
I'm going to name 2 players like Rich, but I'm going to name players that are really wide off the ball. I'm going to say Walcott and Sigurdsson.
Yeah.
Because they both always turn up against West Ham.
Yeah,
good point.
Sigurdsson was
Very good point.
Last year. He was even the Everton fan that come on said Sigurdsson was crap last year. Scored a banger from 25 yards against Arsenal on his left foot, didn't he? On his weaker left foot, he put one in the top bins. You know, he always turns up against us. So I'd say Sigurdsson.
Yeah. Well, listen, that brings an end to our preview for the Carabao Cup. All we need to do is get behind West Ham from behind the TV screens, behind the laptop screens, behind your mobile phone. Just get behind the lads, and fingers crossed we can progress through to the next round of the Carabao Cup, taking us into the quarterfinals. We have a big barrier in front of us, that is Everton, but let's just hope that the West Ham players turn up on the day. And we know that when West Ham can turn up on our day, we can perform. West Ham are actually going for our 3rd win in a row after the fantastic victory over Hull and the unbelievable victory over Wolverhampton Wanderers at the weekend. Join us tomorrow night for our Match Day Live. We'll be on just giving you as much banter as we possibly can, team news, watch along, all that malarkey. And anything you guys want to say before we head?
No, next 5 in the league are all must wins. I mean, I think the way we're playing is like we're just going to win the league now, so it's going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I just want to quickly say big shout out to Ross, who's just donated £1.99. So thank you very much, mate. I don't even know how this works, to be honest. I don't know why. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that people actually donate for watching us. So thank you. Don't even know where it goes. Some digital world somewhere, but we'll see what we can do. Anyway, get behind the side. Right there, he's been Richard. Right there, he's been Matt. I've been Anton. This is Irons United. Subscribe, comment, like.
We go to Wembley.
Come on, you Irons. Come on, you Irons.